So
Thank you.
you guys put out 4 albums in 1 year,
Yeah.
right? That's a big project.
That was the biggest project we've done. Yeah.
So how do you get to the point where when you're done with something that big, how do you have the energy, or where do you find the creativity to move on to the next thing, or do you feel like you just want to sleep for a month?
Well, I do feel I want to sleep for a month.
Sure.
I still do, even though we put out the 4th album last April that completed this cycle. But since then, we played quite a few shows over the summer, and then we were planning a tour for the fall. And I feel like you have to create your own momentum.
Okay.
So, it's easy to feel a little burnout sometimes. Sure. And I think you have to, I try to listen to myself and recognize, okay, I don't feel like working for 10 hours on a demo today.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. Maybe I'll spend a little bit of time writing, spend a little time just, cultivating, planting some seeds here and there. But it's really important, I think, in any kind of venture to achieve a balance. And so that's not always playing shows, and not always writing, and not always demoing, and not always sending out emails. But after completing the project, it became clear to me that we needed to put a lot of effort into trying to promote and publicize our project on a national level. Sure. And so we've been sort of toiling with that and having some success and having not as much success as we would like. So that's really where a lot of the energy is now, is trying to make sense of that, of the bigger pond, being a little tiny tadpole in a huge ocean.
Do you have any questions for Chris?
Yeah, I'd be happy to take any questions about whatever.
All right. So part of being a DIY artist is, I feel, connecting with fans a little bit, and even giving them just more than the standard CD or something like that. How do you feel you connect with your fans?
I feel like I do it really well sometimes, and then I get lazy about it other times. And it's not for lack of desire or wanting to do a good job. Connecting with fans, it's just like staying in touch with your family or something, staying in touch with your friends. Like, it's something that you have to do. It's part of being a musician. It's part of any job that you have. Like, it's all about the people that you know and the relationships that you build. And some of the things that we do, I think, work pretty well. Like I try to make little videos here and there, write a little tour blog here and there. Check out, if somebody comes to a show and they say, "Oh, I'm a writer," I always say, "Hey, please send me your writing samples, or if you're a songwriter, send me a demo. I would love to have an exchange about that." And that, for me, is true. I'm really interested in what people are working on. I mean, it's such an honor to be able to have an audience experience what it is I have to offer, and to be able to see where these people are coming from is something I'm just so fascinated by. And having just a real honest exchange with an audience is the only way that it works. There's cool bands, or there's hip bands or something that can get super wasted at a show, and fans will love them no matter how many times they crash their car, or how many times they melt down on stage. But that's very few bands that are like that. I'm not even sure if that's like a gift or winning some kind of satanic lottery or something. But most bands that I've been able to encounter, they're just really great at being able to connect with fans and do that from a place that is totally authentic.
Okay. So on the flip side of that, how do you separate your personal life from your stage persona? I mean, that's difficult for some artists, whereas others,
well, there can't. It's hard to have a real big division for me, because on stage, I feel like I want to talk about anything that I might talk about in my personal life anyway. But keeping in mind that it's a show or that it's entertainment in a way. I mean, it's art, but at the same time, I think people go to see music because they want to share the joy that the music brings. They want to like get their groove on, or they really connect with some emotional component of that music. If it's not like, if it's not super like dance oriented or fun and uplifting, and when I try to keep in mind that that's the reason why there's people in a venue watching me do music, it helps me to determine what kinds of things would be relevant to share with that audience, or it helps me to look for things to be aware of from the audience. And at every show, I try to get a sense of the energy, see what it seems like the crowd is looking for, and sometimes I'm great at figuring that out, and other times after the show I feel a little like I missed a chance or something, and I think that just happens when you do a lot of shows.
Okay. So I know this is a stale question that is probably asked in a lot of interviews, but I don't think I've ever asked you what influences you when you write. Like, are there any artists that you listened to when you were growing up?
Yeah. I knew you were going to ask that question when you asked it right there. I don't know how.
I know. You read my mind?
When you said the stale question, I'm like, okay, what are the stale questions I know? I mean, but they're valid and important questions.
I don't think I've ever asked you that, though, just in general, so I'm interested in that.
Well, when I started seriously doing songwriting and examining the form and the idea of melody and chorus and bridge and structure and arrangement, I was listening a lot to oldies music, to like Beatles, to the Zombies, to Velvet Underground, to Led Zeppelin, and that was more in the after college, late college years. In my youth, I didn't really listen to anything that influenced my music. Like I would have all these bands that I loved, and then I would sit down and write songs, and I was like, well, I really like Radiohead, but none of these songs sound like Radiohead, so I don't really know how they're informing me. And once I kind of discovered what kind of music I really appreciate from a structural standpoint, and where my strengths are as a musician, as a songwriter, that's when I felt just like riches in libraries and on the internet and everywhere, of like so much music that is really inspiring to me.
Sure. So what are you listening to nowadays?
The last few albums that I bought off of eMusic and Amazon, I got the Tron Legacy soundtrack. It's Daft Punk, which is awesome album. Okay. It's instrumental, but there's one sequence where Jeff Bridges says something, and it's like so like he's got an awesome voice for voiceovers and just in general. So I got that album. I got the newest Ryan Adams album.
Awesome. He's here Tuesday, yeah.
Oh, he's
here?
He's IPR?
No, no, not IPR. I think he's at the State Theater.
Okay, yeah. That's right. He's really good. I've seen him at the State Theater before. He can be really weird. He's one of those guys where, like I was talking about earlier, like he can run a car into like a 7-Eleven and we'll be like, oh, that's cool, awesome. Whatever.
I know, his fans love him.
He probably got a song out of
it. Yeah.
He's great, though. I'm a big fan of his. He's definitely influenced and informed my work. I got the... what are some of the other albums that go on? The newest Feist album, which is cool. The production is great. I love the album, The Remainder.
Yep.
Which one is it?
I think it's The Remainder.
Remainder?
Yep.
Okay. That's such a good album. And so I was looking forward to her next release, which I really love it for what it is. It's not the same album as the one before. It doesn't have that bombastic pop hit on it that I can like listen to and blast out of my car stereo, but it's much more intimate, and I appreciate the production values on her work quite a bit.
Okay. So speaking on that too, how do you evolve as an artist do you feel like when you guys wrote those 4 albums, did you evolve as you went along, or did the music change a little? Yeah.
Well, that music was all kind of conceived within an eggshell, or like a snow globe or something, like in its own little realm.
Sure.
So there was only so far that I wanted to push any particular element of it.
What about your solo stuff?
The solo stuff. So I like to when I'm writing songs, I like to write a song for the song. And so if I want to write something that is really challenging for me, then I'll try to do that on its own instead of trying to make some hybrid of a song style that I feel confident in writing with the one that seems more challenging. I mean, I feel like I have to figure out how to do that challenging song first, and then figure out how to incorporate it into something more conventional.
Okay. So what is the next plans for the band and yourself?
To play as many live shows as we can. We're going to do a tour again in January. We're going to go out to the West Coast. And then in February I'm going to do more solo dates around the Midwest and hook up with Stephen Kellogg again, and hopefully some other artists. And we're going to do South by Southwest in March. I'm working on a show at the Fitzgerald Theater right now for June. So there's just a lot of planning in the works right now. I'm writing every day and working with other songwriters on their projects. So I'm just really interested in staying as connected to the idea and the reality of music, than keeping it at arm's length. Like you just gotta dive in, and even if you don't know what's gonna happen.
Do you feel that when you write with others, you evolve a little bit yourself too?
Absolutely. Working with other people, it's easier. I find it's easier for me to get a stronger sense of how to be objective about the songwriting process, to not fall in love with an idea, to not think that something is pure gold. Like, not everybody thinks that, and to be able to remove my personal feelings about a work is so helpful in the creative process. I feel like I can achieve greater, more results that I'm happier with.
So do you co-write, or what else do you do with these artists too?
Well, it's a couple of songwriters that I've been working with. Okay. It's basically listening to the songs that they have them, and then we break them down. We talk about the verse and the chorus. We talk about, to me, what parts are working really well and what parts feel like a kind of a loss of energy, or that make me feel a little funny. Okay. And I feel like any artist really benefits from a good, healthy critique and an exchange of ideas. Like it's good to hear from the songwriter why they made the choices that they did at that point. And I find that most of the time when there's a spot that seems a little funny to me, it's because the songwriter wasn't aware of the choice that was being made, or aware that there is a choice at that moment. And so being able to apply that to my own work is so helpful, because I can just step back and say, well, I don't have to do that there. Like, this song is not set in stone. I mean, nobody is has a weapon to my head trying to make me do this.
Can we get one last song?
Absolutely.